There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
I am still muted. I just did a full intro, but I fumbled over it, so it's fine. I can correct it now. Like everything was intentional. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel.
I thought that was longer than 32 seconds.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney, and we are joined today by special guest, Mr. Sean Krummel, from Random Back Issue Comics on YouTube. How are you guys doing today?
I'm tired, but
all right, good. Is our guest still here?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was fumbling with the. I have the video pulled up, and then I got distracted and was listening to the show.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. Anyway, how are you guys doing today, man?
Great. How are you?
I've been better, but it costs more, as it
Nice.
usually goes. It has been a long month. I love the holidays and I love the cold weather seasons, but man, the older you get, the longer it seems to drag on.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over this month.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just ready. I'm ready to stop spending money and just chill out for the new year.
Yeah, can we just not spend any more money until December of next year? That'll be good.
That'd be amazing. My wife would love that.
just hibernate for a whole 12 months.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up? Like that's literally. I think we can can enough episodes to take a year off, Ayrton. We'll just take a weekend.
All right.
We'll just take a weekend and record 4 episodes.
36 hours straight.
Yeah. But somehow, make enough episodes to cover 52 weeks.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
My youngest.
I mean, if we break it down into only 20-minute chunks, that should work.
Yeah. Oh well, I don't know. That's, we'll have to talk about it off the air. I wonder will people notice. But
nah.
While I was gathering some topics through the week, there were a couple of stories that I thought of might be interesting to talk about. But before I do, I'd like to give our guest the floor. Why don't you introduce yourself? Sean is a return guest, but some of you may have not seen him before, and anybody watching the replay may not know who he is. What was it? Like 3-4 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's very likely they don't know who I am.
Okay.
Unless they're one of my 55 subscribers, yeah, probably not. I run a YouTube channel called Random Back Issue Comics, where I talk about the comics that I had as a kid and never got around to reading. And some of the characters that I've seen all my life, I look into them and either review an individual issue or I spoil a whole graphic novel for you, trying to explore who these characters are and why they're so awesome, and usually why they're so much better than today's characters.
Okay. All right. I believe the last time you were on, we were talking about Pitt, and
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Well, some of them are better than others.
Well, I've seen recently, your most recent videos have all been about Danger Girl. So
Yeah. I did like a Danger Girl Spectacular because I had ended up buying all the action figures from McFarlane Toys,
Yeah.
and then I really read like the first 2 or 3 issues, and I got really hooked on it because it's so much like an action movie and like a James Bond movie that I bought the Ultimate graphic novel. I think that's the name of it, the Ultimate Collection.
All right.
And then I was like, we'll just do a big blowout and go through this whole book. I'll have my wife do different voices, and and I'll do my own bad impressions, and it'll be fun just to have a project with her and mess around with these characters.
Nice.
All right. So,
Yeah.
was there anything in particular you wanted to bring up before we get into some of the outlandish things that we talked about off air?
Oh no. I'm the holidays, like you said. Well, like they're busy for everyone, so I'm just running around dealing with a new job and trying to keep up with the channel lately. So whatever you got, whatever you want to do, I'm game.
I feel everything you just said in the core of my soul, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not very often that you truly get a legitimate news organization like, well, quote unquote legitimate news organization like CNN or NBC or any of these organizations actually getting involved with comic books. And they'll talk about
Oh
the
yeah.
movies, but apparently a host at CNN has asked Jim Sterling, Jim Starlin, to I'm thinking about the YouTuber Jim Sterling because he's also outlandish, um, but has asked Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, for those who don't know, if he can force the Trump administration to take down a meme of Trump as Thanos.
I don't.
I'm curious how they expect him to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he makes it pretty clear that it's covered under parody, if nothing else. That's the most obvious thing there. It says here, CNN host Brooke Baldwin asked Jim Starlin, the creator of Marvel comic supervillain Thanos, whether it was possible for him to get the President Trump's campaign to take down the meme featuring the character. No, the First Amendment protects under satire, if nothing else, Starlin said on the Friday segment. So, I mean, he knows what's up, but he apparently did go on a little bit of a tirade about the fact that he didn't want the president using the character, and I just
Yeah.
Well, because of course he did.
right.
I was gonna ask, is he a Republican or a Democrat? And
Well,
like, what does it even matter?
it doesn't. It doesn't. Orange and Purple Man bad apparently,
Yeah.
but he goes on to say that I feel like the only thing I can do is sit there and speak out about it because as an artist, my creations, I'd like them to be used for something that has something to do with what's going on in me rather than somebody else to exploit. It seems a little
Mm-hmm.
selfish. I mean,
A little bit.
when you put those characters on the printed page, they become the property of everyone else in spirit, if nothing else, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Sure.
when you look at some of the more successful crowdfund campaigns and even the smaller ones, I mean, everybody that put money towards these books to have them made and believed in that creator, they had at least a fraction of the amount of love for these characters and therefore contributed to helping create them. If you go back to classic Marvel and DC comics, those characters are timeless and people have ingrained them into their day-to-day lives. We have superhero pajama pants. We have little pop
Hmm.
figurines of our favorite superheroes around our house. We have t-shirts with the emblems on them. People go so far as to get tattoos of their favorite characters and their favorite insignias. these
True.
characters don't just belong to the creators, and they shouldn't just be expected to be a representation of those creators. And I feel like that's one of the more selfish things I've ever heard a professional say in regards to a comic book creation.
I don't. How many? Like, what does he have in the way of rights, even that would make them think that he could do anything with the character?
Oh, absolutely. I don't
Like-
think he has anything. He created Thanos back in the day when you didn't have rights to your creation. You were making a paycheck.
Right.
You know, everything you
Yeah,
did
and-
was under contract, buddy.
Wasn't he like? Yeah. Well, when was it? I might be misremembering this, but I thought that he was in the news. I don't know, like a year ago or so, talking about how he gets screwed over for the Marvel movies. They don't like compensate him for much of anything.
I don't think they compensate any of the original creators for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think
Yeah.
Stan Lee made that much. Maybe Stan Lee. But,
Maybe.
you know, I don't know that the Kirby estate made much of anything. You know, anybody that had a hand in creating any of those characters. I don't think that Marvel really comes out of pocket, or else they wouldn't have been able to print comic books like they have for, you know, the last
Yeah.
1,000 years, it feels like.
Right.
The superhero is rapidly turning 90, folks. I want everybody to take that into consideration. The superhero is only 90 years old.
Only.
Well, in terms of media, I mean, you got to think about stuff like Lovecraftian lore and things of that nature. I mean, Lovecraft is
True.
what, 20s, 30s?
20s.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's barely a century old, but these are the tropes that have taken over everything in our, you know, entertainment industry. Like,
Yeah.
Unless you're Alan Moore.
well, it goes to say that when I'm just looking at you know, looking at topics and looking at things that have happened in the last week and all of that stuff, what's the main thing you see when you go look at a site like Comic Book Reader? Movie and TV show news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's almost depressing to me as a comic book fan.
Well, it's the same as the conventions. The comic conventions aren't comics anymore.
No, it's about the new movies. It's about the toy lines. I mean, you might have a couple of old guys there with back issues that are valuable, selling them to a high market customer. But you know, you don't get Artist Alley like you used to get it with indie creators and new work and new characters being revealed. No, now it's about what the next movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the con up here, they even call it the pop culture and comic book convention.
Well,
It's
I mean,
not just Comic Con
that's-
anymore.
that's the same thing now, though. You have to understand. Comics
Yeah.
are all of pop culture now, like literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, back in the day when we had to fight for a halfway decent Batman or Superman movie, nowadays we can't get the fuck away from bad movies.
That's
And,
true.
Uh,
I'm kind of in the minority where I liked the first like chunk of Marvel movies, and then after that, like if I see it once, I never need to see it again.
right.
Yeah.
No, I'm almost there with you. I enjoyed what they accomplished with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the way that they accomplished it. However, I feel like they rode that high for too long, and it pointed something out, and something that you could accomplish in a year in the comic book medium. It took them 20 years to do in movie form. The very
Yeah.
ineffective way of telling these stories.
Yeah.
You know, if they tried
That's
to
true.
they tried to shove the entirety of Civil War in one movie, and that was really bad. The movie was okay,
Yeah.
but if you look at it and you say this is how they're trying to tell the story of Civil War, it didn't work. None of the heartfelt moments of Civil War were actually there. You're like, oh, Tony and Cap just still don't like each other. Okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I remember them saying they were going to do Civil War, and I was like with what, 12 superheroes? How do you do that?
right. you know.
Yeah.
But and
Yeah.
you didn't even have like the aftermath take effect in the TV shows, even because you couldn't even line it up like that. Like that would have been a
Yeah.
perfect time to integrate like Luke Cage and Daredevil. The most you got was a mention of the New York incident in Daredevil with Jessica Jones, I think.
Yeah.
But you know
Uh,
there was no enforcement agency knocking on Luke Cage's door asking if he was going to register.
mm-hmm.
But
Which would have been cool if they would have done something like that.
well, you couldn't have though. Like I said, when you have
Yeah.
a cinematic event, like they essentially told the Infinity Gauntlet story in a roundabout 20-year fashion. And they
Yeah.
didn't even get the whole thing in there because they had to try and tie it all together and explain who all these people were to a normie movie going audience. So you got bits and snippets of the Marvel Universe history, and none of it really makes sense from a comic standpoint because you can't use those tropes in a movie audience.
Right.
But
Yeah, it is in hindsight pretty weird that they tried to fit a major comic event within a major comic event
mhm,
type series.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like it was well done for what it was, but
hmm
when it comes to just wanting to see it again, like I don't think you should try and do it again because
Yeah.
Oh no, not at all.
you know you're going to expect your core audience to wait another 20 years. Like you're literally expecting a generation of children to be born into phase 2,
Oh yeah.
Right.
and there you're going to lose a majority of your audience to being parents.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah.
say. I mean, or they're going to lose them into being elderly.
Yeah,
Somebody that
it was an incredible thing they accomplished. Just leave it at that.
well,
Like you keep making like your one-off movies if you want, but you
well,
know,
I
Yeah,
just
that'd be fine. I think they rode the whole thing into the ground.
right,
Having all the connected movies, I'm like, It's done."
right. No, I don't think that you're actually ever going to get that kind of. You're not going to capture that lightning in a bottle again. Like the fact that they had, for the most part, it looks like they had. Why is my bit rate so terrible? I mean, it just dropped down to nothing. Is the stream still going? Huh.
looks like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right. Well, I don't know what the issue is, but let me see if I can
Huh.
free up some bandwidth. Steam doesn't need to be open.
Uh
You're good. What?
oh.
Playing games while you're doing the stream.
No, no, no. Steam just runs in the background all the time. I'm really terrible. I
Yeah.
just put everything on this laptop and think that it's just going to work fine. I don't know. Maybe it'll clear itself out, or maybe OBS is just being a piece of crap because my internet speeds are fine. You guys can hear me fine, right?
Yep.
Well. Oh, now it says 0 concurrent viewers. Okay, now we're back to 2. I don't know. We'll continue like nothing's wrong.
It's how I live my life.
That's
I mean, isn't that just our show?
basically. We're gonna pretend everything's okay. Well, another topic that kind of made me, because as I'm looking at some of these things, I'm reflecting on the fact that here we are in December, and I'm seeing articles and topics and stuff like that pop up, and I'm remembering back because in the comics community, 2018 was kind of a really big deal. You had a lot of high profile people coming out and calling out the comic industry. Ethan Van Sciver, you know, you had Doug TenNapel, you had Mike Miller, and and other indie creators coming forward, like your boy Zach actually successfully crowdfunding his first book. You had the Mark Wade lawsuit. Um, you had creators kind of going ape shit and expressing their political opinions on Twitter like someone cared. And then you had
That's what Twitter's for.
yeah, yeah. It just I think it's also for looking at it and being like, who the fuck cares? Like, why do you think people give a shit? Go back to making comics, monkey boy.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
We just want you to put out books. We don't want to hate you so that we don't buy your books. Why are you trying to make us hate you? But
That's so true. That's like every actor I see now too.
yeah.
I'm like, shut up! I used to like you as an actor.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Now I can't stand to look at you.
Ron Perlman, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ron Perlman, 100%.
Oh yeah,
That guy, like Sons of Anarchy, I loved that show. I loved him in that show. Hellboy, I loved him in it. And then I found his Twitter account and I was like, man, I hate this guy now. Kevin Sorbo, Hercules, hated it, couldn't fucking stand it. Found his Twitter account. I fucking love Kevin Sorbo now. But
that's good. Yeah, most of them I just mute. Even if you have a blue check mark, it's very likely I'm gonna mute or block you.
Which is probably good practice.
It is. There are only a couple that I kind of let get away with having their blue check mark. I mean, EVS has one. Ethan Ralph has one. I feel like how you got your blue check mark says a lot too. Like, I got kicked out of the comic industry. Here's a check mark. That's acceptable. Yeah. I took a swing. I took a swing at a cop. Here's a check mark. That's acceptable. But I'm a journalist. Nope. Block.
I write opinion pieces for blah blah. No.
I used to work for Fox.
But we even went so far as seeing Marvel and DC kind of lose their mind and hire people like Zoe Quinn and the actual uprising of a counter movement to a movement for indie creators and fans. And it's been such a weird year, man. Like, just in comic books, like I think people have just missed the boat. Like, nobody cares about the medium anymore. It's all about the shit posting, and it's funny. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not knocking anybody who does what they do. By all means, do you? But when it comes to comic books,
go for a walk sometimes.
Yeah, when this is comic books. It's supposed to be fun, and it's not fun anymore when it comes to this kind of seriousness. People getting doxxed, people getting lawsuits pulled on them. It's insane.
I tell my friend.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, just let me clarify. That's not in reference to your boy Zach. I fully support his lawsuit because Mark Wade broke the law, but there's someone suing one of the war campaigners over cyber harassment. And I'm like, you could just log off of Twitter.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
that's a lot cheaper in the grand scheme of things.
Or, there's a block button.
But
yeah, I'd say to my friend, and I don't know, this might relate. Like I see this guy I work with that being a fan, you used to have to work for it. Now it's like every idiot can just access this stuff and stick their finger in it and ruin it. And it's like, I don't know. It's an abundance of opinions that don't matter, and it just ruins it.
Right. Well,
right.
And I think that as a society, hashtag Joker. As a society, we've lost sight of what civil discourse is, and you can't disagree with someone without hating them. Now, I feel like, and that's really led to a downfall in the comics industry because is in such disarray. I mean, you've got people on opposite sides all the way up the corporate ladder, and that's not doing anything for creators. I mean, if you don't agree with your editor in chief, you're fired. If your editor in chief doesn't agree with your CEO, he's fired. It just people can't just agree to disagree and do their fucking job anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It is funny though if you get into an argument on Twitter with someone, and then you decide to take the high road and tell them to have a great day, and you just wanted to have a conversation. They don't know how to respond to that.
No, I love that.
Like if you just become overly polite, they're just like, "Bleh."
I can't look like the asshole here. You're supposed to be the asshole. Be a bigger asshole. But
And what makes it even better is if you use entirely proper grammar and punctuation in your response tweets.
oh,
yeah.
yeah, I double space after every
Yeah.
sentence.
Like, check your MLA handbook. Yeah.
Ayrton, fuck your style guide. Speaking of civil discourse, Anyway, we do have an article on Bleeding Cool, and I know it's a trash website, but I wanted to see what they had to say about Art Thibert, who is working on an indie comic called Chrono Mechanics, speaking out about being blacklisted for Marvel. We've heard EVS talk about being blacklisted. Not so much Doug TeNapel, like he's talked about being soft blocked out of the industry. We've talked about the tortious interference of Richard Meyer by Mark Waid and all of that, but actual blacklisting of the industry, I'd like to see what somebody who makes that direct claim has to say. So Art Thibert is running a crowdfunding campaign for his comic book Chrono Mechanics on Indiegogo, which is the perfect time to talk about why he hasn't worked for Marvel Comics since 2002. So here we are 17 years later, talking about why he hasn't worked at Marvel since 2002. Why didn't he say something in 2002?
Because Twitter wasn't around.
A story he's been saving up for this moment. Known mostly as an inker, Thibert worked most prominently on the X-Men and Cable books at Marvel Comics in the 90s before jumping to Image, where he worked on his own title, Black and White, which was a good book. Before returning to Marvel, where he worked as an anchor with Mark Bagley on Ultimate Spider-Man, with Andy Kubert and Mark Finch on Ultimate X-Men, until he suddenly wasn't. Yesterday on YouTube, he decided to tell everyone why, while also encouraging people to back his crowdfunder. You got a screenshot there, not the actual video. He was moving to Image Comics and suffered an industry sales decline. Thibert talks about returning to Marvel with his tail slightly tucked between his legs after penciler Andy Kubert had requested him to work with him. But it wasn't that easy. Thibert says then editor-in-chief Bob Harris wanted Thibert to pay his dues to get back, and Thibert didn't blame him. He says that he started building back his resume of trust with the company and began working with Carlo Pansio. I'm terrible with names, and Ayrton loves it. On X-Men books.
I really do.
And the Ultimate line happened. He was picked up to work with both Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men, and he quotes Harris telling him that on Spider-Man, I want you to ink Mark Bagley. I want you to bury him. I don't want to see Mark Bagley. I want to see you. It may be worth noting at this point it was Bill Jemas and Joe Quesada who set up the creative team for the Ultimate books, and Joe was editor-in-chief at the time, but it was almost 20 years ago. This is a long article. I'm not going to read all of this. That's just not what the show is. It's just like I didn't expect a direct transcript. We do have a quote. You destroyed my fucking life, Dave Bogert. Fuck you, and fuck you, CB. You're shameful. You're a horrible human being. You destroyed me for no reason at all. I'm quoting YouTube. just to show power, just to make an example of me and other guys, and I believed it also had to do with the blue line situation. I said no to David Boggart, and he didn't like it. You know, I guess that's a direct quote from Thibert on YouTube. I don't look at this
I like
guy.
it.
Yeah, I don't look at this guy and imagine those words coming out of his mouth, but it gives me hope.
He always sounds like the nicest guy too. So
Yeah.
yeah, and with that face, you don't picture the anger.
But it just sounds like he just spilled all the tea on Marvel Comics. I mean, this could be a whole show worth of material.
Yeah, we might have to dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and read it tonight. I read the first little bit earlier today, but I didn't realize how long it was.
And you give me shit for doing that.
Yeah, but you know, I'm the boss. I get to give you shit about things that I do intentionally. You know, do you know how that's how it works?
Technically, I guess you're right.
It's my channel. I get to fire you when I want. You know, I get to show up late and expect you to be on time. It's great.
He's drunk with power.
I'm drunk with whiskey.
No, that's the whiskey.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
I like how we
I get
both
those
picked
confused
up on
sometimes.
Right.
that. I do too. That's the problem. That's what I need to do. Make a brand of whiskey called Power Whiskey.
I'm surprised nobody has
Super
yet.
Power Whiskey.
That's
just
really shocking.
Put a disclaimer on the bottle. This whiskey will not give you superpowers. Please don't attempt to jump off the top of your house.
It'll just make you feel like you have superpowers.
But no, it just seems like Art decided to just spill all the tea on the Marvel Comics industry, and that seemed pretty glorious. I'm going to earmark that for later.
It seems like it just came out, and it just happens to be that he is also crowdfunding, but these sites like latch on to whatever they can to try and make him, cast him in a negative light.
Yeah, and I mean they do that with all of them, though. I don't see how anything that was just said would cast him in a negative light, though. I mean that was just that little blurb that I read. Like that's some real shit. People love that.
Yeah.
So, I guess we need to look at his crowdfund and see what that's all about. Because this is the first time hearing it. Oh, there's only 5 hours left. I guess we're
a little late there.
Not to give you bad news, but I saw like a minute before we started the show that Ethan was gonna start streaming. So.
Oh, I expect that to happen all the time, so don't feel bad.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys check the side chat, I did a quick Google search, and there's an Irish whiskey called Powers.
Okay. All right.
So
I wonder if the creator of that whiskey will turn down a shot of Proper 12 as well. Dan, the Streamlabs, I had to take it down for a little while. I'm working on a new bank account situation for the Streamlabs. PayPal didn't like my last bank account.
How dare they?
I mean, if Ayrton could, set it up through his rotary phone, I'd have him do it, but I don't know that he can.
Yeah, that might be a bad idea.
I forgot about the rotary phone.
I'd probably click something wrong, and like the money would be sent to like a prince from Dubai, and then we'd have to call Trump and have him go bomb Dubai to get our money back. It's just too much of a headache.
In Minecraft.
Yeah.
No, don't tell him, Sean. But I actually got him a car phone, like an '80s car cellular phone, for Christmas.
Oh snap!
Yeah. Gonna have him moving up in the world here soon.
Start wearing suits like Gecko.
See, I was thinking about getting one of those '80s like briefcase phones with like the antenna that was 13 feet long.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the phone that was like built into a car.
No, the bag phone, man.
The bag phone.
Yeah.
Because I had a car within the last 10 years that had like the actual phone like inside the car.
Of course you did.
It was a 1997 BMW 740 IL. It was white, had the car phone, fake wood trim on the inside. It was fucking awesome.
Your first smartphone was a BlackBerry, wasn't
it? No, my first smartphone I didn't get until about like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. I'm sort of in the same boat. I'm always cheap about getting a new phone.
Yeah, me too.
Like, what am I going to use this for? A map or something?
Yeah. You know how many times that should have saved my life? You driving by the place because it's on the back side of a building. You pull up Google Maps. You realize you've been driving in circles for 3 hours because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Those are the good times. I will say, just on that note, I know that's just completely and utterly off. He's going to bring you the penny directly, Ayrton, but you're going to have to send me half. Right. So just get the bolt cutters, cut the penny in half, spend the money on the stamp because I'm not paying shipping, and send me my half a penny.
Don't tempt me because you know I would do something like that.
Just put a bow on
a Christmas card.
Yeah, put a bow on it or some shit. Call it Merry Christmas. But anyway, chrono mechanics. Before I get too far off track, hasn't done terribly. It's $24,000, which is almost 300% of its $18,000 or $8,000 goal. There's a signed sketchbook or a signed copy and a sketchbook with some trading cards. There's what is it? A signed copy and a team trading card. There's a couple of posters.
I know he's got some system set up where if you get like the full tier, like the highest one, you get like all the trading cards. But I don't think you can get them all if you just get like the lower tiers. Something like that. I heard him the other day.
Interesting. But
yeah.
Chrono Mechanics is a self-contained 48-page PG-13 comic. So interesting that he's not just going out saying all ages. I'm cool with that transparency. The action-adventure time travel story follows a team of highly diverse and ego-driven time repairmen as they race the clock to keep the Earth erratically merging timelines from imploding. To compound their problems is a self-centered, workophobic new recruit who may be the one thing they can't fix before the whole Earth falls apart. We hope you will join the side-splitting adventures of Team 9.2 of Sector 7, the best team of the knuckle-busting working-class Joes ever to punch a time card. So climb on board for Chrono Inc. Time Ship with Oot, an entrepreneurial caveman, Caravaggio, Renaissance artist and inventor, Zen, an alien child deity, and Doug, a 70s rock legend, as they and our full cast of insanely funny characters save time. Hey, to these guys, they're just putting in a day's work. So, that's the...
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
That property is ripe with different puns you can do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You get one copy of the graphic novel and one trading card. Your items will be packaged in protective comic sleeve with backing board and shipped in a Gemini comic book flash mailer. Note, international shipping may have additional mailing amount should shipping rates increase at time of fulfillment. Estimated shipping is May 2020 and has over 160 just comics and one trading cards claim. So, I mean, this is pretty amazing. I thought it's funny as hell. You got a few quotes here. The writing on this book is unsurpassed. I will write nevermore. Edgar Allan Poe. All of the knowledge of the universe is in this book. Deep, huh? Aristotle, some know-it-all in a bathrobe. What? Van Gogh, a deaf artist and lunatic. This book is pure gold. No, I touched the damn thing. How does it end? Midas, a very rich king, hands-on kind of guy. This book is a shocking discovery. Ben Franklin, inventor and avid kite flyer. And Thibert makes time travel relatively fun. Einstein, smarty pants scientist. So,
I like that one.
So yeah, 5 hours left. If that's something you think might interest you, check it out. If you're watching this on the replay, you better hope he put it in demand.
That's true.
So that's definitely something I can kind of get behind. I'm very interested in seeing that. If he puts it in demand, I'll probably try and snag a copy before it goes away. If not,
Yeah. Good. Where? No, I just appreciate that the caveman has an outfit that looks like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah. The art looks good. The story sounds funny as hell, and that is one thing I don't see a lot of in Comicsgate. Earthworm Jim was a pretty funny story. I didn't get a copy of Bigfoot Bill, and as I'm sitting here thinking, I was watching an eBay listing that I really should have checked before I got on the air, but I'm irresponsible and didn't do that. Or I'm responsible and didn't spend the money. There we go. That's the story I'm going with. I'm responsible and couldn't justify spending the money at the moment.
There you go.
I wasn't, an idiot and forget to look. That's not me. But you don't see a whole lot of funny stories within the indie comics movement right now. It seems like everybody's got a very serious story they want to tell. Like there's some humor in some comics like Monster MD and stuff that you can see, and there's some humor in Downcast, I believe. But I feel like this is actually kind of going back to the root of old school comics, and literally is going to be a funny book.
Oh yeah.
So I
like how the rocker's name is just Doug.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just find that really funny.
Next issue, you should see if Doug can get a brother named Ayrton, who's an archer. It'll get you written into the book.
There we go.
We'll spend your tax return on a tier that gets you written into the book. For the show, that'll be.
We'll spend my tax return.
Right? Yeah.
Just want to point that out, everybody.
Caught that, did you? I was hoping I could slip it by. If I can just get you to agree, I got him on recording, ladies and gentlemen. You heard him.
See, but if your luck, my signal would cut out and I'd start roboting as soon as I agreed to something like that.
Yeah. Fuck. You're not wrong. Sometimes I think you just robot out of spite. Like you know exactly where to move in your home and start roboting.
I mean, I do.
But I don't know. What do you keep up with the indie comic stuff? I mean, I know you cover random back issues, and I see you chime in on Twitter occasionally. But you, I don't know if you've kept up with any of the campaigns, or if you've backed any of them, or what you thought of Comicsgate as a whole.
I've done a few. I actually just got Jawbreaker's God King the other day, and now I can't remember if I finished reading the first one. So I did those two. I'm still waiting on Ethan's, day one Cyberfrog, Ashcan, and Chromium.
Really?
Hopefully that's coming soon.
Yeah, the Ashcan should have already started shipping out. I got really lucky, and I had just backed the third team up variant, and that was the first one to ship out.
Yeah, that's been driving me insane because everyone's revealing it, and it's taken so long for me to get mine that I'm actually considering doing it as a random back issue review because everyone will have already read it before I get it. Good.
It's not funny, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Like I
know,
get why he decided to start shipping those, but
right.
when you're like day one, you're like, yes, I've been waiting for this, and I've been
You're
following you for a while.
you're one of the
Everyone
last
else
ones.
has it, but I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it can't help but feel a little personal, even though you know logically it's not. I definitely understand that.
yeah, I know
Uh,
he was getting a lot of flack, and he was anxious to just release it, and I get that, but I'm like,
yeah.
God damn it.
Well, he's made some statements, and I look forward to keeping up with whether he keeps with his outlook in those statements about doing things very differently the second go round. And I'm sure that
Sure.
he will. Um, you know, I'm sure that he
Yeah.
will. One thing I will be interested in seeing is how your day one Chromium edition that's had time to set
Hmm.
before it shipped out, how it looks
Right.
out of the plastic compared to the first that arrived and had the fluting that everybody went crazy over.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm
Jawbreakers is doing that to me right now, but I have a stack of comics on top of it to flatten it out.
Yeah.
I think it's just a product of the printing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen it in so many comic books that I bought for Marvel and DC that it didn't even bother me when I first saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just kind of normal. It's just, when you have heavy black ink pages, it's usually
Yeah, and that just seems like more stupid Twitter stuff where people are looking for whatever they can to just blather on the internet about it.
Well,
And
of course.
it's
so.
like you guys have never read comics before.
so
They have wavy pages.
Sir, I'd appreciate you stop talking about the premise of my show while on my show.
Okay, sorry.
Look, we're just looking for whatever we can blather on about for 2 hours, four nights a week.
Well, that's fine. It's a live stream. I just have a personal bias against Twitter now.
Oh no, I definitely understand, but I do get some of my my juiciest drama from Twitter. So,
Oh, no doubt. Sure.
um, I don't like to get involved in most of it because most of it's stupid, but sometimes it's really funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's true.
I like to sit back and watch, and every now and then just poke enough, just to like keep things going.
See,
You know.
in my head canon, if it wasn't for Twitter, then Rob Liefeld wouldn't be the show's nemesis right now.
That's very true.
I missed out on that.
I don't think he knows that he's the show's nemesis.
Well, the brief background is Church is blocked by him on Twitter and went off on like a 20-minute tirade demanding that Rob Liefeld draw him some feet. And
where's the fucking feet pictures, Rob?
It was one of the funniest fucking things.
I know you're watching this right now. Where are they at?
Offering whoever can commission him to draw Church a picture of some feet will get, like, he's going to give them a whole bunch of stuff if they can make that happen, and it was just fantastic. So yeah, he's our designated arch nemesis because everybody needs one.
I will send you some comic books. I will send you a Gospel of Comics thermos. I will find you. I will send you whatever you want. I will send you not my firstborn, maybe my fourthborn.
He'll send you half of a penny.
Well, Ayrton will. I might send you a lock of Ayrton's hair. But
now I'm starting to wonder how many people have actually asked him to draw feet at a convention.
Oh man, I just wish somebody would contact me and tell me they're currently in talks with Rob Liefeld for a commission. Like, I would pay double the cost of however much the commission costs. Like, Rob Liefeld could literally make some money off of this. But he blocks me on Twitter, so I can't actually get this over to him, and it makes me very unhappy. And then there was the episode of Comic Book Hut, because he had done something stupid, you know.
Oh, really?
And I was just gonna laugh at it a little bit, and I realized I was blocked on Twitter by him. And you know, even though I strongly advocate if you don't like somebody on Twitter, block them. I always kind of go off on people that block me who I've never interacted with.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember interacting with Rob Liefeld, but I've probably laughed at him a couple of times and maybe tagged him a couple of times. I'm not sure.
There may have been whiskey involved.
There was definitely
some late night tweeting.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I did a search, but I couldn't find anything. That means nothing.
I'm innocent.
I mean nothing. Maybe drunk me deleted the tweet so that I wouldn't find out about it. You never trust that guy.
It's like Memento with you when you tweet and drink.
Yeah, I'm plotting against me. But anyway, Comic Book Hut had done something stupid, and we were laughing at him about it. And Ayrton realized that he wasn't blocked, so Ayrton went and followed him to just kind of keep up with him, and didn't say anything to him or anything like that. But then Comic Book Hut blocks like 4 people from the show who had gone and followed him.
And in like 20 minutes.
And then makes this like proud tweet about it. I blocked all these war campaigners. I'm like, who the fuck's a war campaigner?
Jeez.
One of the accounts was literally Ayrton's guitar. Nobody had a WC in their name. But yeah, he's like the mini boss, arch nemesis of the channel.
Comic Book Hut or Liefeld?
Yeah. Liefeld's the actual nemesis.
He's like the little trolley sidekick of the ultimate villain or whatever.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I think what it started is I realized I was blocked by him and I couldn't figure out why. And then I looked into his crowdfund campaign because I remember back in 2018 he was like 4 or 5 years out on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at it again, and he's like starting to fulfill like 6 years later, and the entire premise of why he started the crowdfund has changed. At first, it's like I want to give everyone a free comic. And now he's like, you can come find me at a convention if you want a copy. Bring $7.
And there's still people that like sing his praise. They're like, "Oh, I like Rob Liefeld," and I'm like, "Why?"
Yeah, well, and so we.
I mean, if he draws us the goddamn feet, he won't be our arch nemesis anymore.
No,
he'll be a hero at that point.
Well, until I find the photo that he swiped the feet from.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And God help him if he uses Brie Larson's.
Oh, jeez.
Oh. Good Lord. But
see what I mean? Like, what even is this show anymore, Sean? We don't know. This is what Ayrton puts up with 4 times a week. And I love it.
Our show has lore. It's weird.
Well, you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But
you do it long enough, you're liable to develop some inside jokes that no one will get.
Well, to bring back around to the news this week, you said that. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're familiar with Robert Kirkman.
Yes.
Okay. Creator of The Walking Dead, creator of Invincible. Owner of the Skybound imprint of Image Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's got a new creation on the rise called Firepower. So,
ooh,
Didn't he just do another series? It was like Portals to Another Dimension or something. I forget the name of it. Oblivion Song, maybe? Or is that something else?
I didn't
What am
know
I
if he
thinking?
was involved in that, but maybe.
Oh.
But
Well, anyway, sorry.
Oh, you're good. After the surprise conclusion of Walking Dead in July, many fans of Robert Kirkman, the creator and writer of the zombie series, wondered what he would do next. The answer is coming in May with Firepower, a martial arts inspired series about Owen Johnson, who was adopted as a child and goes on a mission as an adult to learn about his birth parents. So, how long has it been since we had a decent martial art comic? Like,
I don't know.
The radically rearranged Ronin Ragdolls. That was pretty fun.
That was
from earlier this year.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But that was a swipe of Ninja Turtles created by Robert Eastman. I don't think that counts.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
There were a couple of little martial artsy type books in Secret Wars 2015 that weren't terrible, but I like anything that has a very short lifespan in comics because it doesn't feel like you have to stretch the characters so thin to keep telling stories.
Yeah.
There's
a definite wrap up.
Yeah, one of the jokes that I like to make occasionally is that both Batman and Scooby-Doo, or both Batman and Wolverine, were in their own comic books, on television, in movies, and on Scooby-Doo at the same time.
It's true, man. Like, how do you come up with a new Batman story? I was in a used bookstore that has a lot of graphic novels and trades and stuff. And I meant to post it, but I took a picture of just this wall, and it was like all Batman trades. And I'm like,
jeez.
Where do you even come up with a new story for this guy anymore?
I mean, you have to cuckold him. Like they did with
Catwoman.
Yeah, basically.
That makes me so mad.
You have to make him into a giant pansy. No offense to giant pansies, but...
well, there goes
don't
that
get crazy.
demographic.
Don't get crazy now.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they were already long gone. But no, I mean, the things that they've done to Batman, like people are praising Tom King for his work on Batman, and I'm like, why? He made Batman pathetic and stupid.
Yeah,
world's greatest detective.
The only way to come up with new stories is to make him everything he isn't.
Right, and then you're not writing Batman anymore. I talked about this with someone, I don't remember who at the moment, but a couple of people actually. But what would you say if Marvel and DC came out tomorrow and said that instead of getting ongoing series, that you might get like one Spider-Man trade a year
that'd be great.
Yeah, by like an established team, as opposed to just giving Zoe Quinn free reign on Superman or some shit.
Well, I've been saying for years that I don't know why they didn't switch to like a literature type of publishing model years ago.
Well, I mean, I think that you've got a win-win situation in comics, and this is just me having read as much as I have and looked at the industry the way that I have, and being on what side of the economy I am.
Yeah.
But let's just say that you let writers and artists keep the rights to their own creations, and you don't give them a paycheck per se. They get paid based on their sales of their creation under your imprint. And then when a writer and artist team prove themselves after a year or two of holding their own creations and using their own creations to push their numbers, then you might approach the best 2 or 3 creator teams that you have and say, hey, why don't you want to do X-Men? You want to do Avengers? Maybe a Spider-Man book or, Captain America story? Have you got something like that you want to tell? And that's how you don't just throw these legacy characters to the wood chipper every time you get a new creative team. Because you're not always going to hit gold like you do with Matt Fraction on some things. You're not always going to get good stories like you got with, Simonson.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
do you think they would still want to do those characters, though, after they've worked a while and been successful on their own?
No. But you know what? but you know
might
what?
as well offer it to them.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, you either get good stories with them or you don't, but you get quality comics that people care about, or you see that people don't, are just trying to springboard and put whatever crap they can on the market. And you're not going to be grifting people who bought every issue of Spider-Man to date.
Yeah. And there's always that lull in the middle between good stories that you have to slog through.
Yeah.
No.
Like when you have the same title, like when you have an Avengers book, and then 3 issues are written by this team, and then 3 issues are written by another team, and then 6 issues are written by a third team, and then you cycle back around to the first team.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You're not giving any of these creators the room to actually grow and develop these characters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But that's just.
I agree. We'll go with your plan from now on, then.
Yeah, Marvel, DC.
We've been trying to get hired by them forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they've been dodging us.
I don't know.
Maybe I should at them on Twitter more.
On our next drunk stream, that's what we should do. Is we should sit down and write a resume and email it to Marvel and DC.
Oh,
that'd be amazing.
Better yet, we'll start a Twitter thread and we'll let them write the resume for us. Everything that they put in the Twitter thread we'll include in the resume.
There we go. That sounds like a wonderful idea.
You horse-faced sons of bitches, to whom it may concern.
That's good.
I like that plan. I think it'll work. I think it's how we.
Thank you, Mrs. Roosevelt. Good night.
Basically. Anyway, Firepower, to get back to that, the artist Chris Samney is the co-creator of the monthly series, which is colored by Matt Wilson. To be published by Skybound, an imprint of Image Comics. The main character wants to live a quiet life with his family, but the safety of the world depends on him discovering his power.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, it fucks up your entire weekend. Kirkman said during a recent telephone interview, finding that power involves a journey from his hometown in St. Louis to a Shaolin temple in China. Fuck, man, that's gonna
China.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
Man, I was just getting that queued up.
Yeah. The lost art of throwing fireballs, he said. The idea of the story stemmed from one of the writer's longtime fascination. When I wasn't watching zombie movies, I was watching a martial art movie. The cover looks pretty cool. And I like the premise, like actually unlocking the I don't know, third eye ability to shoot a fireball out of your hands.
I could dig it. I mean, if I could learn how to do that, I would.
Somebody was admitting to knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. Why can't you, man?
Yeah, right. Despite the
You need
tremendous
to find that inner peace.
Despite the tremendous success of The Walking Dead as a franchise on television, Kirkman is thinking of Firepower solely as a comic book, at least for now. It's almost like he's a fucking comic book writer, and that's what he does for a living. And people would approach him on some of his property that they want to put on television, or others they don't. I can see them wanting to put a zombie show on television in the middle of an election season where they wanted a Republican to lose. There's a whole dichotomy that EBS likes to go into about zombies and vampires and Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I've heard it a couple of times from him.
But I recognize there's a good chance that it could end up being a TV show or a movie or even an animated series, he said. But I'm certainly not writing scenes going, how am I going to be able to fit this into the budget? I would never want to limit myself because comic book storytelling has tons of strength and don't translate to other mediums. Which, I mean, he brings up a great point. I've noticed that because we do a segment, well, up to this month we did a segment. We kind of fell off of it in December because we're all so fucking busy. But we do a segment about once a week where we both pick usually a new number one that came out that week from a random publisher and we review it. And more often than not, that comic book feels like a damn script for a pilot of a TV show more so than a comic book.
Sure.
You know, and that's not what it's about. Like, I have a lot of opinions that are fairly, I don't know, mainstream almost, that you want to call them. Like the price of a comic book is too fucking high. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that.
Nope.
24 pages should not cost $5 ever. They give 24 pages away at the doctor's office every day in the form of pamphlets.
Yeah.
You know, you're telling me that doctors will lose more money than a comic studio is willing to by just giving away the same thing the comic studio is trying to grift you out of $5 for? I don't think so. And it's made me wonder, like, is the future of this crowdfund thing where people look at comic books and say, I like this, I'm willing to pay more than the $5 for a quality comic book, so I'll support this? Or is the model of that just unsustainable because of the price barrier? Because obviously most people can't, like most average people can't back every book that looks interesting to them.
That's true.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's probably 24 books that are out there right now that are either backing or just ended recently that I just can't afford it. You know, I would back every single one of them if I could, for the most part. Like, there's very few crowdfunded books that I look at and go, nah, that's garbage. Because at least you know when you back a crowdfund comic, there's a higher than 75% chance that the creators that work on that book actually give a shit about it.
Yeah.
You know, whereas with a Marvel or DC book, I mean, you've got it's basically a 25-75% chance that it might be decent, or it's just somebody writing to get their paycheck.
It's true.
So, but
yeah, I don't know. There's only like a handful of the Comicsgate comics that I've actually supported, and I'm still waiting on like 3 or 4 of them from last year or whatever.
Yeah, I think I've still got 4 or 5 in the queue. 3 of the 7 or 8 campaigns that I've backed have fulfilled, and I've received either my digital or my physical copy of all of that. So I just got my Earthworm Gem. I got my Cyber Frog pretty early. But I just
rub it in again.
Yeah, but again, I only ordered the base issue of the last printing. If I would have gotten in on day one, I'd probably be sitting right here with you because I would have bought the ash can if I would have known about it day one. But I came in a little bit late to the Comicsgate thing for Nicky Rackett, so.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, did you back Earthworm Jim?
I was going to. I was really looking forward to it, and then Doug started getting weird, and and then I was like, I'm good.
I don't agree with a lot of that back and forth between him and Ethan. I don't think either one of them were right in that exchange.
Sure.
But as far as the book goes, I had Earthworm Jim on 3 different consoles. There was no way I wasn't getting this book.
Yeah. Well, I was really excited about it. I even bought the old action figures because I like collecting old toys,
Yeah.
and then he just, I don't know, he just got weird, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Well, I understand that. I don't really hold the personal biases between the guys against any of them. You know,
Sure.
I don't give a shit who you don't like. If you can draw well or you tell a good story, I'll probably support your product. That doesn't mean
Right.
that I won't laugh at you if you do something stupid. And then turn
Right.
around and buy your book, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't see why those two things have to be separated, but again, I am a rational human being in a very irrational world.
Oh, well, there's your first mistake.
Yeah. You know, I'm a very logic driven individual when it comes to other people and their beliefs. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of this country is nobody really cares.
No. Nobody
Like,
cares.
d- call yourself your weird fucking gender, say you're a dog. You might get laughed at, but no one really cares.
No. No, nobody's following you home to make sure that you are just a normal person behind closed doors. It's when you put yourself out there that you get laughed at, and that's pretty much as far as it goes.
Right.
You know, but the thing is you get these internet personalities, and I'm not, and nobody in specifically, and this isn't in direct relation to anybody that we've been talking about either, but in general, and you know, we're not guilty of it yet, but if we ever get there, I will end this shit like a bad habit. But these internet personalities that get, you know, bigger than just people, like they don't think they're the same
Yeah.
as their audience anymore. And
Yeah, I get that.
you know, we're just two dudes doing a podcast. Like we're lucky to have, you know, 10, 20 views on a show, and that's fine. I don't care. We have a good time with the people we have on here. You know, we have random people coming back and checking out shows and commenting on them from 3, 4 months ago, and that's that's the highlight of my day when somebody's like looking at an episode from 3 months ago, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I
get
didn't
that.
realize you covered this," and I'm like, "Hey, cool. I'm glad you liked it. You might like this, this, and this too."
Yeah.
But you know, just to be able to come on here and express my views and hang out with my buddy Ayrton and have cool guests on like you and other people to talk about comic books and leave my wife alone for a few hours. Um, it's you know, it's nice, and the people in our chat, they're the absolute best. The people that support the show are absolute legends. The people in the Discord are freaking awesome, and
And degenerate, but
mostly degenerate. But I think that just comes with being on Discord.
yeah. Discord changes you.
I'm pretty sure you can go get like any of our grandmothers and put them on Discord, and they'll be like Hitler posting in a week.
Person like sailors.
You know, your grandma's gonna call you. I love you, Sonny. 1488. And you're just like, Grandma. Oh, don't worry about me. I'm just going to bake some cookies. But in the grand scheme of things, I see these people with their tens and hundreds of thousands of subs, and they just act like they're so far above everything, and that their little Twitter beefs and their Twitter dramas are the end all be all of everything, and I don't understand it. Because I'm just sitting here laughing at both of you, like you're grown men having fucking, just you're having a bitch fest in the middle of Twitter. Like I don't handle my business on Twitter, guys.
Yeah.
I'll invite guests on via DMs, but if I have a problem with you, the first thing that's going to happen isn't going to be a tweet calling you a so and so motherfucker. I might message you and say, hey, what's the issue here? Hey, can we work this out? Or, I may just ignore it because I don't care. But the people that just go back and forth in public like it actually matters, you're asking to be laughed at.
Yeah. Well, like that's all they do all day is videos and Twitter, and I'm like, go for a walk.
Yeah, I think that we need to get some of these people just back in the blue collar workforce, even if they don't need the
Yeah.
money. Just get them a part time job where they have to leave the house and think about something else for a certain amount of time,
or just open your shades and a goddamn window, get some sun and some fresh air.
But for as much as I hang out on Twitter, like I don't follow it all day. I don't have to respond every time that someone makes fun of me or brings me up. I don't even know most of the time when it happens unless someone brings it to my attention. But
Yeah.
you see these guys and they're back and forth all day, every day, and that's not a shot at them. That's how they make their money. It's the outrage culture. But I just want no part of that, man.
Yeah. Well, that's like the outragey channels, like where they'll just find news articles to complain about, and I'm like, I can't do that. I'll die in my soul if I do that every day. Like, how about we just read old comics and talk about them?
Yeah, that's usually what we do. But we do a once a week segment where we do look at the news from this past week and things that we find interesting or.
Oh, sure. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying.
Oh,
like,
no, go ahead, judge
those
away.
guys that those guys that like every single video is just going over the latest insult to whatever they're covering. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Or
how do you do it? Like video after video after video.
you can't. If you can't laugh at it or it's not even remotely interesting, like I'm actually interested in this Firepower comic. I didn't bring it up to bitch about it. I didn't bring it up to laugh at it. I just like Robert Kirkman's doing a new book, y'all.
Yeah,
I brought up Trump to laugh at it, but that's just because I think Trump is the greatest troll that ever lived. Trump is the hacker known as 4chan, in my opinion. He's the greatest threat to American security that we've ever seen. But no, I don't understand the manufactured outrage, and I definitely don't understand letting anybody else live so rent free in your head that you can't help but respond to every little thing that they do.
Sure.
You guys don't want to work together. Cool. Don't work together. That really should be the end of it, But it's almost like that fucking issue of Marvel Comics #1 that went for like $1.3 million or something. They've talked about that. Oh no, you haven't?
I started a new job and I'm just running around constantly, so I'm not keeping up with things as much as I used to.
Well, every week when I take a little bit of time to just look up the latest news and comic books that I might want to talk about and put it in the list, there's always an article fresh that week about that comic book, and that damn thing sold over a month ago.
Yeah,
but every week they're still talking about it. I'm like, why do it's sold? It's sold. Why are you still talking about it,
folks?
Yeah, why are you still talking about it? It's not news anymore. It wasn't news the week it came out, but we're done. It's over.
Oh, well, it's news to me.
Well, I guess. I mean, maybe you are the demographic for all of those channels.
The one person.
You're the guy. You're the guy they need.
Nice.
It's good to have news catered to you, though, I guess. Now, we looked at a Bleeding Cool article earlier talking about Art Thibert, and I'm just like, that's too long. I'm not reading all of that. And we actually have an article from Bleeding Fool, the parody website that tries to be a better version of Bleeding Cool.
Mm-hmm.
They've actually recently come under a little bit of fire for practicing some of the same quote-unquote SJW tactics that they're supposedly again. I don't know enough about that to comment on it, but I just think it's funny how quickly the opinion of these websites and these creators just turn on a dime.
Yeah.
But Screen Rant recently reported on the cancellation of a Thor spinoff starring Loki, which was put to rest after 5 measly issues. Magic may be Loki's forte, but it doesn't seem to be helping him much lately. With Tom Hiddleston's head, an exciting new frontier on Disney Plus, it's been quite some time since he had some success in the comics. His latest series was written by Dan Kibblesmith.
Well, that's a name.
I'm Kibblesmith. With the final issues art provided by Andy McDonald. And it was a lighthearted take on many happenings across Jotunheim, Asgard, and beyond. Over the last few years, Marvel has tweaked the would-be villain to better suit his rise in popularity. Rather than a mischievous and scheming villain always plotting against his brother, he's a quick-witted monarch doing his best to do the right thing. You remember the Acts of Evil event that Marvel did where Loki was like the mastermind and he switched everyone's villains and almost won?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
That was such a good storyline. And, to see what Loki's become, honestly, to me, it just is sad. I mean, he was a woman for a while. That was pretty terrible.
Oh, that's a novel idea. I'm surprised they never tried that.
What, making Loki a woman?
Yeah, it was a poor joke at trying to do a sarcastic joke about them changing everyone into a woman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no.
Sorry, continue. Bad joke.
I will say, though, if you're going to make any character do it, Loki is the one that it kind of works with. Because in actual mythology, turned himself into a female horse and then got pregnant from a giant mystical horse. And that's where Odin's 7-legged horse Sleipnir comes from, because he gave birth to it. So
now, is that a practical joke that worked out or went too far?
Yes.
I think yes. All of Loki's children were tales of just caution. They were cautionary tales.
Well, that's the thing about Loki that, well, one, these modern like fangirls obviously don't get, and Marvel clearly doesn't get either, is he's not the god of mischief. In the writings, he's referred to Loki, the doer of good and the doer of evil. So it's really just whatever's going to benefit him at that time is what he's going to do. It's really about self-preservation. Like, he cuts off Thor's wife's hair at one point, and Thor gets so angry and is like, motherfucker, I'm going to rip you in half if you don't fix this. So then he persuades like the dwarves to make her like a wig made out of like living gold or something like that. He's like, all right, don't rip me in half.
That's also where the hammer came from. And the
and
hammer
a flying
was imperfect. Yeah, the hammer was imperfect.
Seriously, a flying boar.
Yeah. Yep. And a ring that dropped 9 rings just like it on every ninth night or some shit.
Yeah, something really weird.
Yeah, Norse mythology is strange but fascinating.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like another contrived example of spotlighting the crook because it just has to be done. Why not focus on the Warriors 3, Frandil the Dashing, Hogan the Grim, and Volstagg the Enormous, or even Balder the Brave? Loki may not be the worst adversary Thor ever had, but making Loki the star of the show doesn't sound very tasteful, and neither does what happens in the last issue. With the latest Loki series began its final and yet most entertaining issue yet, a time-traveling romp with Loki in the wildest of West with a cameo from almost everyone's favorite X-Man, Wolverine. Hilarious but brief bloodbath ensues is worthy of more than just a 5-issue series. Just how bloody is it? Based on Marvel's track record since the turn of the century, and the recent Thor-related example being one of them, I wouldn't trust Loki's story to be any better. This is kind of a point-counterpoint thing on Bleeding Pool, so. Sadly, stories don't always have the happiest of endings. Rather than the issue evolving into a glorious tale with travel wizardry It quickly returns to the modern day to give Loki some much-needed time to reflect, not just on his recent travels, but his newly gained position of power, but to essentially reflect on the end of yet another story. Marvel Comics has always been quick and merciless with their cancellations at the end of the Loki series is no exception. And the counterpoint about Bleeding Fool is, well, if you planned on it being an ongoing instead of a mini-series, there's your answer right there. They don't have the patience to build up a character's alleged popularity incrementally. In contrast to how Chuck Dixon built up the Birds of Prey in 1996, it results on busloads of failed ongoing series making a joke out of the industry. Cover price of $4 or more is no improvement. Considering how badly they've handled Thor-related items these days, that's why I won't be sorry to see the spinoff go down the drain. And that's almost the exact same story of Brother Voodoo, the Sorcerer Supreme, right? I don't know if you remember that short-lived run.
I do not.
Back in the day, Doctor Strange had to go to hell, I believe, is what it was for a while.
Oh,
So he, Brother Voodoo, became the Sorcerer Supreme, and it was actually a pretty good book. And then out of nowhere, they just canceled it after 10 issues. Just like, no, we're gonna bring Stephen Strange back.
How long ago was that?
Oh, shit, the early 2000s, I think. It definitely constitutes being a back issue.
I'll have to look into it.
I actually ran across that series in the early 2010s while I was digging for issues of Doc Savage.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a title we haven't gotten into on the show, but for those at home, Doc Savage is an old pulp hero from before comic books were really the mainstay and kids would buy dime novels. And you get stories about like The Shadow or Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze, or just these random. Dick Tracy, I think, was a dime novel character as well for a while. But
Doc Savage is actually one that I know nothing about, and I've seen all my life, and he's like on my list to research to finally know what the hype is all about.
It's old school, like it's almost like an Indiana Jones kind of feel to the stories.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, then you'll probably really like it. There are like 14 different comic series, and they're very hard to find sometimes.
Yeah.
Probably online, but I used to have a thing about not buying comics online. I would have to go and track them down in stores, but now with stores drying up like nothing, I have to go online. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, and then depending on how what happens in a particular issue, you may or may not be able to afford it.
Yeah. I've not run into that with Doc Savage. I think the most I ever spent on an issue of that was like $10, and that was a rare number one that was probably 30, 40 years old, and I spent that on it because I had never seen one in person before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm going to go ahead and buy this for $10 before I can never find it again and hate myself for not just spending the extra money.
Sure. Yeah. I was digging through the dollar box the other day at my comic shop, and I found Omega Men 1, 2, 4, and 5. And I was like, of course, number 3 is not going to be here because it's the first appearance of Lobo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I was hoping. I searched every box on the shelf trying to find that one, but no luck.
No, the first appearance of Lobo, that's like an $80 to $100 book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's up there.
No. Hell, I didn't know that New 52 Batman number 1 was a $150 book.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Court of Owls number 1, basically.
Huh.
I can sort of understand that. I had to get that as a reprint or like a second printing or whatever, because they were sold out.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, we got one in a collection. I ended up picking a collection up off of somebody. I think we spent like $600 on it, and by the time I was done pricing it out, we had probably about $3 or $4 grand worth of comics.
Wow,
nice.
Well, that's just how the comic industry goes, though. Like you have to put so much work and space storage and time into a collection. Like you're never going to get full value unless you're selling to another collector.
Sure.
You know, you can't afford to pay full value on stuff like that. Hell, he did really good to get $600 out of it and not just have to walk around with that stuff for another 6 to 7 weeks looking for a buyer.
Yeah.
Because he had been everywhere else in town that even dealt in books, and most places didn't deal in back issue. But I was able to look through what he had and, you know, say, hey, this is good stuff. You know, this isn't stuff that's going to end up in a quarter bin. Like, he had Alex Ross autographs that I ended up buying from the shop. He had a full set of Secret Wars from the 80s, and including number 8.
That's cool.
Yeah, back when number 8 was worth money. There was a while that was a $300 book.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just plummeted. I don't know why it plummeted, but I guess I've got 3 copies of it now because it went down to like $50 for a little while.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you
You're
think
just hoping it jumps back up?
No, I love that series so much. I want
to
have multiple copies of the entire
run. Oh yeah, that too.
I've got 2 long boxes of nothing but Secret Wars stuff. Like from the original Secret Wars 2, and then the 2015 run where I had every tie-in. I think I'm missing like 4 tie-ins from Secret Wars 2. Pretty sure.
I still have the Spider-Man action figure from Secret Wars.
Oh, with his little shield. Do you have the?
I don't have the shield anymore. I lost that, but he's still in great condition because when I was a little kid, I apparently put him in the bag in the basement with the lawn darts, and we never used those, and I forgot about him, and then I found him like, I don't know, 10 years later.
Nice.
But yeah, he's in pretty good condition.
I miss lawn darts.
I do too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was no more fun way to try and kill yourself as a child than lawn darts.
Kids are so coddled these days. Let them throw a fucking metal spike in the air. Fucking helicopter parents.
I accidentally launched one onto our roof of our house one day, and I think that was the end of the lawn darts.
Man, I can just imagine sitting there reading a newspaper and look up and there's a spike directly above my head. Gonna have to take the... Go ahead.
Oh, me and my friends when we were like, I don't know, 13, 14, that kind of age, one of us had like one of those $20 like samurai swords where like you could cut like a thin branch off a tree with it sort of deal, right?
Yeah, sure.
And what we would do, there was like 5 of us, we'd stand in a circle and then somebody would chuck it up in the air as high as they could, and then you would have to just bolt for your life and hope that it didn't come down and hit you on the top of the head.
What is wrong with you?
Well, we also used to play a game called Ham Sarah, which if you want an instant anxiety attack, it's perfect. So you light a bottle rocket and you stick it in a paper bag, and then you have to say the name of a food and a person, i.e. Ham Sarah, and pass it to the next person in the circle and try and see how far you can get it in the circle before it blows up.
I'm surprised you made it to adulthood.
Me too. You have any idea how many trees I've fallen out of?
Oh, God. It's the least of your fucking worries. I'm surprised you still have half of your face.
Or fingers. Or if you made it with all of your fingers to adulthood.
I've never broken a bone. Weirdly enough, I don't know how, because I've also been run over by a golf cart a few times.
A few times.
Yes.
My co-host, ladies and gentlemen.
I've settled down. I've settled down a bit.
I've got my email address open for applications when he inevitably gets himself killed. If anybody wants to get it on the ground floor here.
So, most recently, the worst thing I've done that's potentially life ending would be riding my motorcycle in like the middle of a snowstorm. Which is brilliant fun to watch people's looks as you're going down the road, and they're just like, "What the fuck is that guy doing?"
I'm gonna show up at Ayrton's place, and I'm gonna wait for him to jump on his motorcycle, and then he's gonna look over and realize that his little saddlebag thing on the side of the motorcycle is filled with lit fireworks.
Hey, riding a bike in the snow is fun. I'll pull it out and just like, because I have a decent sized yard, when there's tons of snow, and just kind of like fishtail it around in the yard and stuff just for fun.
Sure.
Jeez.
Sucks if it falls over though, and it weighs like 800 pounds, and you have to push it back up.
Oh no, it's not that big of a bike.
Oh,
I mean, it's a decent size, but it's not that heavy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had a Sportster that I rode for 6 years, and I was working on it in the garage once, and I had Converse All-Star shoes on, and it fell over, and I was holding it like squatting, and I was just stuck because I wasn't strong enough to get it moving, and it's just this weird stupid V shape in the garage, and I'm yelling for someone to come help me.
That's fantastic.
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't at the time, but in hindsight, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hysterical.
Oh man, those are times where I get myself into situations, and I'm at the house, and my wife just has to come look at me like, "You idiot." Yeah, that's what true love is looking at someone, knowing they're stupid, and not divorcing them.
Right. And if you don't get that look at least once a week, you're doing something wrong.
I'm definitely not manning hard enough if I don't, right?
I love those memes. It's like, why women live longer than men.
Oh yeah.
It's like somebody he has like 4 ladders stacked on top of each other, like so he could paint the top of his like second story windowsill or whatever.
Yes. People are people, and they're the worst. This is a great idea. Death.
Right.
Holdmybeer.com would never be a thing if we had a lick of fucking sense.
That's true.
But I mean, really, we have to blame our dads for that kind of stuff. Like when me and my dad were building my place a few years ago, there's one of those giant like black and white fucking wasps. You know what I mean? Those giant ass ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the nail gun. I was holding the siding in place. We were up on on a couple of extension ladders. It was kind of buzzing around by our heads. So he pulled the safety back and started shooting nails at it. And he hit it too. After like the 4th or 5th shot, he actually hit it. It was impressive.
Nice.
I was really hoping you were going to say he started shooting the nail gun at it. That's great. That's fantastic.
He Miyagi'd that bitch too, apparently, and skewered it.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
You get back
That's
down
good.
off. You get back down off whatever you're working on. You go look outside and where the car is, and there's like 3 nails through the windshield, and 1 through the tire. Like, well, I didn't think that through. Got the damn wasp though.
Yeah,
And that is exactly how men think too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I got the wasp. Nothing else matters. The fuck. So,
It's amazing any of us lived through childhood.
oh yeah. I mean, I tell people that are 20 or younger about my childhood, and there were days where I would get home from school, and before I could even do my homework, my parents would just make me leave the house. Like, just get out. Like, just go somewhere and play for a while. Be back by
Yeah,
dinner or some shit, And you're just like, well, okay. And it wasn't like a weird thing. You didn't like sit outside and what am I going to do now? No, you had places to go. You went and did shit.
yeah. You you found a stick and you like tormented snapping turtles.
Oh no,
Or
man. There was a
you know.
no, man. I was ingenuitive. There was a restaurant probably 3 blocks from my house growing up, and it had one of those big elevated porches that you had to take steps to get up, and you would order from outside, and it had picnic tables all over the porch. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just climbed
Mm.
under that wooden porch and collected all the money and had lunch.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, you'd find like 10, $15 under there every other day from where people had
Nice.
dropped money through the wooden porch. You know, but yeah, that was the first thing I did, and then I'd walk down the road and find a local pet store and hang out there for a little while. You know, fucking go to my buddy's house 3 blocks away and see if his mom would let us in the house. If not, we would make our way down to there was a little arcade that we could walk to. Probably took about 45 minutes to get there, and I still had some change left over from lunch because this was 20 years ago when things weren't expensive then. You could get lunch for like
Right.
$4. But no, man, like being a kid was a completely different experience. Like if I put my child outside, if I put my oldest child outside tomorrow, he would have no idea. Like he'll play, but if he got outside of the yard, he would have no fucking clue what to do.
Mm.
There is. Where's he gonna go? There's
Well, they keep
nowhere.
shutting those places down, like the arcades and stuff.
The arcades, the parks. I mean, none of it's safe. Hell, you can't let your kid get out of eyesight anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Can
go
you
outside.
or can't you? Or is it just like has the world really changed that much, or is it just
No, it's just illegal
people being
now.
paranoid?
No, it's
Oh,
just
there you go. Yeah,
it's
that's
illegal
it.
now. You'll have CPS on your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go outside, Timmy. There's autism in the grass.
Like if I gave my kid $10 and sent him down to the grocery store that's less than 5 miles from our house, it would probably take him about a half an hour to an hour to get there. He could take his bike there and be there in 10, 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
if that kid walked into that grocery store by himself with $10 and went and got some ice cream or something, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that whoever saw him walking around by himself would try and find his parents. And when they realized his parents weren't there, they'd call the police.
Sure.
And that just didn't happen when we were kids. Like, hell, when we were kids, you could go and buy your parents cigarettes. The store owner knew your parents. They would be like, oh, okay, you're here to buy grandma cigarettes. Got it. Here you go.
Yeah, I used to say, "Mom, I'm gonna go walk around in the woods," and she's like, "Okay, be careful. There's freaking
Yeah.
coal mines all over those hillsides and
Yeah.
snakes and whatever else."
Yeah, I was doing that once during the deer mating season, and a buck got pissed off that I was in his territory.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But I mean, there are some places you can still get away with that. Like there are some parents that own enough property that you can still technically be on their property and be out in the yard or whatever. But If you live in a city or right outside the city, you might as well fuck off. Like, there's nowhere to go play anymore. It's all on the Xbox. It's all on the internet. And the kids being raised today are never going to understand the way we came up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
we used to ride our bikes from. We lived, I don't know, probably 5-6 miles outside of the town, and we would ride our bikes down the side of the busy main road into the town, and then fuck around for a few hours, then ride our bikes home.
Yeah.
Go buy airsoft BBs at the hobby shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go and kill possums in the woods with a pellet rifle because you could.
Yeah. Right.
A lot of people don't think, but you can kill something with a pellet rifle. Pellets would go through things.
Yeah. Make bombs out of old pill containers. You get the igniter from like bottle rockets or from like model rockets. Put gunpowder in them and then super glue it shut. Then put a little hole for the igniter.
You can tell you didn't come up in the South. Now, what you did was you went down to the fireworks stand and you got $10 worth of Black Cat fireworks and a piece of PVC pipe from the hardware store. And then you buried it under the train tracks and saw how many of the train spikes you could blow out of the ground.
Go slower. The FBI needs to take notes.
I don't approve of that behavior, NSA. It's just what I did as a kid.
We broke into an oil refinery once. That was interesting.
Yeah, Matt Christie in the chat. When I was a kid, I used to carry my rifle into town, buy ammo, and go hunting. The cops would stop you just to say hi and make sure you were okay. And they'd let you go about your business. Yeah.
You get shot now if you tried to do that these days.
When my parents were in school, this was long and done with by the time I got to school. But when my parents were in school, you could have your shotgun rack in your car in the school parking lot.
Right.
With your guns on it. If the teacher needed a knife, like 6 kids in the class would have one to offer him. Nowadays, you take a fucking a butter knife to school, and you're going to jail. It's insane, man. Like, it just everything's just it's so much different. But enough waxing poetic on things we'll never have again. In the last little bit of the show here, and I do want to thank you for coming on. But before we get to the very tail end, with 2020 coming up in less than 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. With 2020 coming up, what are you looking forward to, Daniel? Daniel, sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Sean, what are you looking forward to in 2020, Sean?
Daniel's like, it's my time.
I don't care what you're looking forward to, Daniel. You had last night to tell me. I'm not kidding. That's a joke. Sean, what are you looking forward to in 2020 in comics and life, whatever, however you want to take the question?
I finished part 1 of my own comic like maybe a month ago, and I'm looking forward to looking into trying to start that being crowdfunded.
Oh, well,
nice.
I mean, if you wanted to come back on, you could have started the show with that. But no, I definitely.
Now that everyone's left.
Yeah. No, I definitely. When you do get that. When you do get that set up, I'd definitely love to have you on to, kind of launch it and see what it's all about and get your take on it, your intro, all of that stuff.
Sure. That would be great. Other than that,
he would love to have you back on. I'm still kind of dicey on the situation, but I'll roll with it.
I appreciate that. As long as I bring the lawn dart stories, that'll be good.
Perfect. Yeah. Then we'll be cool.
Yeah.
Other than that, comic wise, for Comicsgate, I was looking forward to Ethan launching the reprints or that collection of Cyberfrog.
Yeah.
I have a number 1. I've managed to to get one before he got super popular and they skyrocketed in price.
Right.
And but I'm curious to know how the rest of those issues compare to the one that I hopefully get this month sometime.
Hint, hint, Mr. Van Skyver. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink.
Oh, he knows. He every once in a while, I'm like, man, this stinks, but I understand.
Well, no, I'm looking forward to that too, and the fact that it's going to be like a compendium of all things Cyberfrog up to the current iteration really, really makes me happy.
Yeah, and I don't know. Before I started the channel and really started buying individual issues again, I mostly just focused on trades or omnibuses. So that's like my first preferred method to have the whole contained story in one volume. So
I'm a big fan of the trade and the close ended story. Like when it comes to like looking at the daunting task of reading Volume 1 of Green Lantern Corps, I'm just like, I don't know if I have 600 issues in me right now.
I'm trying to catch up on the Conans from Marvel recently that I haven't been reading, and it's taken me forever. They only have like 12 issues out, and I'm still falling behind. So yeah, I feel your pain.
But the thing is that I really do enjoy the story arcs that are completed together. But on the flip side, the idea that so many creators have moved to writing for the trade irks the shit out of me.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're a big fan of the floppies still?
Well, I'm a big fan of a one and done story.
Yeah.
Not just a floppy necessarily. Like I like the idea of having 6 books that I can read in my hand, but I don't think that every 6 books have to be a complete and total storyline. Like you can do it every 3 books. You can have 3 issues that are all just one and done stories that take place over the course of 4 months.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But that's a way to start selling floppy issues again. But the writing for the trade thing, in my opinion, I feel like it's a way to write a comic book that's not a complete comic book, so to speak, and put that out as a single issue, banking on somebody coming back for issue 2 because you just gave them enough to tease them.
Sure.
Whereas, before they wrote for the trade, the way they had to accomplish that was by putting in a previously in section at the beginning of the book.
Yeah. Some of those get on my nerves, like when I'm looking at old issues. And I'm like, I already read this.
Yeah, I mean, you skip over it if you've actually been keeping up with it or you're reading it concurrently.
Yeah.
But it was really helpful when you were reading 6 different titles a week and it was a month in between parts of the story. Once you're reading a trade, I think they should go ahead and cut those out or maybe put them at the end of the book as bonus material, like this was what the previously was section did.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ayrton,
I'm still kind of nostalgic for the previously on. I don't know why. It's something charming about it. Charming and nostalgic about it for me. But yeah,
Sure.
Is there anything you wanted to ask our guest before we wrap up the show?
I hadn't really thought of anything in particular.
He doesn't do a whole lot on the show, Sean. In fact, I'm not really even sure why I still bring him on. He just kind of makes snarky comments in the background and giggles occasionally. But, he's grown on me, so.
Like a bad rash.
Like luggage. I just can't get rid of his ass.
I'm like some mild to severe plaque psoriasis over here.
Jeez. Yeah. But anyway, I definitely appreciate you coming on and staying with us for the whole 2 hours, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to having you back on in the new year where we'll talk about your upcoming project.
That'd be great. I really appreciate you guys asking me back.
Always, man.
Anytime.
Yeah, and if you ever want to come on and just talk about something, or if you have an idea for something you want to look at, just let me know. We're always open to having people on. You're a pretty good guest. I haven't even considered kicking you. But anyway,
Yeah,
thanks.
I try to be quiet and keep the apartment noise down to a minimum. My wife is like tiptoeing around me, trying not to make noise.
Oh yeah, no, you don't have to worry about that. My children like to run back and forth the entire time I'm doing the show, making noise in the background. So you probably heard them
Yeah,
earlier.
my dog does the same thing. So,
But yeah, it's not a big deal. You disrupt the stream however you want to. Part of the charm.
Okay.
But anyway,
All right.
thank you again, and we look forward to having you back on in the new year. And have a great one, and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
All right, man. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense, and check out Sean on Twitter at Sean Krummel, and check out his YouTube channel, link below in the description. Subscribe if you're not already. He puts up some interesting stuff on some back issue, and unlike some creators, he doesn't flood your subscription box like multiple times a day. He just puts out videos when he puts out videos.
It's really become that. It was meant to be like weekly videos, and now it's life is interrupting me. It may be a couple weeks.
Yeah, but
fair enough.
Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks again, buddy, and we will talk to you next time.
All right.
Good night, everybody.